Number 8, it really pains me to put this guy here because I had such high expectations, but after last week, here it comes. Oh, baby! Alright, so I actually still kind of like Harsh's team, but with the news about Carlos Williams just getting concussed and bye weeks coming up, this could be a really sticky situation for Mr. Harsh. He's actually currently ranked 8th right now in the standings. Point total's really not bad, but I think it's a lot better than what it is, because I remember Harsh getting over 120 points, and he only had really one bad week. And I'm only 2 points behind him. I'm looking right now, but regardless, you have to move him down a little bit from like wherever I had him last week. I believe it was 4 or 3. It was very, very high. I don't even remember, but Derek Carr is actually looking like a decent fantasy option. Not this week though. He might have a really bad game. The running back situation is what's holding this team back. I think we all know that it was going to happen. Shane Vereen is kind of inconsistent, so he can't rely on this PPR 10-point a back kind of guy. Carlos Williams, man, it's really bad with the timing of this concussion. It's very unfortunate. And the receivers, though, man, Julio Jones looking like the wide receiver MVP for fantasy. AJ Green is a 2. That's good. Jordan Matthews is an excellent buy low right now. If you guys are in the market, I actually believe that's a great buy low because he's actually had 2 bad weeks where someone should be in position to actually go out and get him. Michael Crabtree is like a flex option. I like him a lot. Harsh, accept my freaking trade for the love of God. And the tight end position is also why I ranked this guy down, because Jordan Reed went down, and with his team, the way it is set up, this is very important to pay attention to this. He kind of needs a tight end because he's sacrificing 2 running backs. So it's not like you can sacrifice a tight end as well. Because if Julio Jones doesn't put up a really good Julio Jones game, this team is probably looking at like 100 to maybe 110 tops on a regular week-to-week basis, with taking out the exception of bullshit defenses and kickers. But as of right now, I think a deal is probably going to be in the makes for Harsh to rearrange his team. Number 7. This is a guy who is actually not bad at all. And the only reason why he is at 7 and not higher is because a lot of other people in front of him currently are trending in the right direction, and it's what have you done for me lately kind of scenario. I put Mr. Matt Morris there. After I dropped him, I think it was number 5. He drops down 2 spots from last week. This is not a caution move at all. I actually like a decent amount of the pieces. However, I think there's a more sell high pieces on his roster than there are actually consistent guys. Let's get right into it. First thing, the quarterback position. You're going to need to trade for a quarterback because Matt Stafford is god-awful. If you're going to rely on Michael Vick, man, you better be praying every night that this guy can get you at least 18 points, because that is not a reliable source. And when Ben comes back, it's going to be really tough to find a quarterback, and that's probably the reason why I only have you at 7 compared to these other teams. Although there is one team that I will have to correct myself with when I get there. DeAndre Hopkins is a target whore. Holy crap. I think he had 22 targets last week. This guy is just like, the defense is freaking awful. I don't know why Yahoo had them at number 1. That's just beyond hype. What are you doing with Houston Texans defense at number 1? Doesn't matter who's throwing him the ball. This guy will get open, and in garbage time, everybody just wants to relax. They're going to like back off the chain marker and play right behind the chains and say, hey, man, get this first down. We're just not going to give up the touchdown. DeAndre Hopkins is unbelievable for fantasy, man. And he is definitely living up to that 3rd-round pick. Congratulations on that. Steve Smith just went down with an injury, and I think this is the one guy 2 weeks where he went over like 30 points or some explosive games like that. Ultimate sell high. He did the same shit last year, and then a hammy got hurt. Now he's got some ribs, and even if he gets back on the field, he's going to pull some weird muscle. He's definitely a sell high, but his value just went down now, so I think you might have lost out on that opportunity. Larry Fitzgerald, I think you can definitely keep him on your roster. At worst, he's going to put up flex numbers, I think, like 10 to 12. The reason why Larry Fitzgerald is rejuvenated is because last year, I honestly think that the playbook revolved around Michael Floyd a lot last year. There was a lot of hype. They wanted Michael Floyd to be this guy, and John Brown was another guy too, and they kind of were saying, you know what, Larry, you're just going to be in the slot. We're going to kind of phase you out. Michael Floyd gets hurt last year, and the offense don't know what the hell to do. And then they lost Carson Palmer. Still don't know what to do. John Brown, I know that was on Brian's team, but John Brown, to me, I think what he is what you're going to get. He's a flex option. I don't think he's ever going to live up to the wide receiver 2 hype at all. He's going to have some decent games, but if he doesn't do anything, it's probably going to be like a 7 to 8 point game, and that's just not something that's consistent enough. And then, you know what, Larry Fitzgerald, because these burners and John Brown and Floyd are on the outside, Fitzgerald is working underneath a lot, and he's running a lot of post patterns over the middle of the field. I like what I see. I think you keep the course with Larry Fitzgerald. Kendall Wright is kind of in that John Brown range, but a little bit, actually a lot better. I shouldn't even say that. Kendall Wright is becoming Mariota's favorite target. I thought to myself that Kendall Wright might have a bounce back year. He's looking really nice. I'd keep him there. But the big thing is the Todd Gurley game. The hype is on, man. I mean, he really, really looked good. And he was hitting every hole, making some people miss. And he just looks like the next guy. I think next year when we have this fantasy draft, this is a guy that's probably going to be early second, mid-second at least. I mean, he's the real deal if he can stay healthy. So, Morris, that is your team. Number 6, trending up in the right direction, all the way from number 9, I believe, from last week. That is Mr. Lewis Todd. 518 points, which is very good. And he's actually, without Dez Bryant, and he's doing this, all the props to you, man. 2-2 record. Looked like for a second he was going to be 3-1 until fucking Russell Wilson with his magic bullshit. And I'm not saying magic bullshit because of a win that Rob Coffey or like that Lewis lost. It's just that Russell Wilson personally as a person, I don't know why he always does these freaking plays. It's unbelievable. And actually this time, it had fantasy implications involved in it. So if you're a Russell Wilson hater, you probably hate it even more now. Yeah, going back onto Lewis's team, the one thing I thought we knew what he did when he drafted was the rookie running backs is risky. I hated Melvin Gordon. I still do. He doesn't kind of fit the style of offense that San Diego runs because they like to lay back and shotgun a lot, which is why Danny Woodhead I thought was a better pick later on. It is kind of showing too. But Melvin Gordon actually, coming into week 4, had the 4th most yards after contact, I think. I think it was around it was the most runs that are over 20 yards after contact. He was tied for 3rd with Adrian Peterson with 4. I don't know what it was after this week, but he's a decent back, but I don't think he's going to get the opportunities in this offense. Same thing with Amir Abdullah. If they get a really good matchup, and this dude, I don't know if he might be okay with the 15 carries he got against Seattle, but I don't like him as the featured back in this offense. I think he's more based for a gadget player. Not saying that he's a bad player, because I actually like Amir Abdullah a lot. But this is a guy they have to use to get into space. And for him to be a traditional running back and kind of just running out of a single back and I formation, I don't think it's right for him. I mean, he will get some decent runs. I saw he had one good run later on in Seattle, made a few people miss. He's a very talented back, but I think at most you're looking at a flex play. He has not yet reached the RB2 level, but there's still a lot of time in the season, so you can play patience with him. Demaryius Thomas comes back, and Emmanuel Sanders cools off just a tad bit. I think we all knew this was going to happen. Dez Bryant is still waiting. And the hot, trendy topic before I get to that, Ted Ginn, by the way, kind of was a really, 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 really desperate sleeper. Really, I know. But, if he gets a soft matchup, he's going to go over the top. And he still can stretch the field, so, he's looking like a flex option as well. But the Willie Snead pickup causing a lot of buzz and fantasy rosters right now. Why not? I mean, why not take a flyer on this guy? I think he's actually been 10-6 and then 6-10. I don't remember his box score like that, but I've noticed that Breeze looks over the middle of the field a lot, and a lot of plays are actually being called for Brandon Cooks, where he looks Cooks' direction, or he'll look deep downfield. And then his secondary option is always Willie Snead when he's lined up in like the slot formation or it's going across the middle of the field. And if not, he is going to do a curl route on the side or something like that. So why not go with Willie Snead? Marquise Colston, I don't know what he's done. I mean, Andre Johnson, Marquise Colston, and Roddy White have been the veterans that haven't lived up to the rejuvenation party at all this season. Marquise Colston is definitely one of them, so why not roll the dice? I mean, you have nothing to lose with picking up with Willie Snead, so that's an excellent pickup right there. Brings us on to number 5, and that is a guy who falls off in the ranking, not by a lot. That is Mr. Max Mandel. The only reason he is at 5, whereas opposed to where he was last week, which was in the top, I believe it was 4, is because of the quarterback situation. Personally, I know you can play by matchups, Max, and I know you're listening right now, but it's going to be very risky without a high warranted pick you had on Ben Roethlisberger. He should be back, but at the same time, it's going to be very difficult. But the thing that stands out, man, is the receivers on this team are the definition of just really consistent, every single one of them. Randall Cobb, he had a 6-point game, but that's okay. Jarvis Landry, I love that pick. I think a lot of people hated on it. They looked at you and they said, what the hell are you doing? But now I'm getting that this guy is on kickoff return, which I don't understand at all because he's not even really that fast. But he does make people miss in the open field, but wow. I mean, you found yourself not only the ultimate flex, you're looking at like the definition of a guy who gets you 15 every week, if not more. If he scores a touchdown, man, this guy's wow. He honestly don't be ashamed to actually put him in the wide receiver 1 conversation with the way our league is scored. Why not? He's a low end 1. If you view him as that, then view him as that. I have no problem with you going out and saying that at all. And I know it sounds a little like what's the word I'm looking for? A little premature to say that, but I mean, shit, man, why not? James Jones, that was a great pickup as well. And the Bengals backs, kind of a mystery, I think, in week 3. But we know that Jeremy Hill's not going anywhere. He's going to get the job back. It was probably just a disciplinary benching because he fumbled. You give the guy a breather to get some time to think about it and shake it off. That's pretty much what that was. Giovanni Bernard can still be a decent RB2 with the way your team is set up as well. Chris Johnson right now has the starting job. Another excellent pickup, but we all know nobody is buying this. You know he's going to get phased out once Andre Ellington, and eventually, I think later on in the season, Johnny's been preaching to the choir, but I think you might see David Johnson because to me, he looks like he can do a lot more with the ball than Chris Johnson. Chris Johnson still has vision, which is why his yardage total isn't that bad, but the burst isn't what it used to be. So I think once they get Ellington back, the offense might change. So congratulations, man.